Karen's scream sliced through the park like a chainsaw through butter, her voice so shrill it could have cracked glass. "You can't silence me," she bellowed, waving a police radio like a trophy she just ripped from the officer's belt. The crowd froze, their picnic blankets abandoned, as Officer Jake Ramsey, a man who'd seen it all in his 10 years on the force, squared his shoulders and stared her down. This wasn't just a Tuesday afternoon in Willow Park. It was a showdown. And Karen, self-proclaimed guardian of her rights, had just lit the fuse. It all started with a dog. Karen's unleashed terrier, Muffin, had terrorized a toddler's birthday party, knocking over a cake and nipping at a clown's ankles. When Jake arrived to enforce the leash law, Karen didn't just protest, she declared war. "This is public property," she shrieked, her face reddening as she jabbed a manicured finger at him. "You're oppressing my freedom." Jake, calm as a monk, explained the ordinance, but Karen wasn't having it. She spotted the radio on his belt, its static crackle a symbol of authority she despised, and in a flash of audacity, she lunged, snatching it before Jake could react. The crowd gasped, phones already recording. Karen held the radio aloft, shouting, "I'm taking control," as if she'd just stormed a castle. The park, usually a haven of joggers and frisbee games, became a gladiatorial arena. Karen, in her yoga pants and oversized sunglasses, paced like a caged lion, ranting about tyranny while Muffin yipped at her heels. Jake, trained to de-escalate, tried reasoning, "Ma'am, return the radio, and we can talk." But Karen was past talking. She pressed the radio's button, her voice booming over the channel. "This is Karen Matthews, and I'm exposing your corruption." Static erupted, followed by confused voices from dispatch. The crowd, now a mix of amused teens and horrified parents, edged closer, sensing a spectacle. Jake's jaw tightened. He'd dealt with Karens before, but this one was a Category 5 hurricane. The tension skyrocketed when Karen, emboldened by her audience, took a step toward Jake, waving the radio like a weapon. "You think you're tough," she taunted, her voice dripping with venom. "I'll have your badge." Jake's patience, a thread stretched to its limit, snapped. He wasn't just a cop, he was a Judo black belt, and Karen's defiance was about to meet its match. In one fluid motion, he closed the gap, his hands a blur as he executed a perfect Osotogari throw. Karen's sunglasses flew off, her scream morphing into a yelp as she hit the grass with a thud, the radio skittering away. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others gasping as Jake stood over her, breathing heavily but composed. "Stay down, ma'am," he said, his voice steady but firm. Karen wasn't done. Sprawled on the grass, she scrambled to her knees, her face a mask of fury and humiliation. "Assault," she screamed, pointing at Jake as if he'd just committed a war crime. "You saw it. He attacked me." The crowd was divided. Some shouted support for Jake. Others egged Karen on, hungry for more drama. Muffin, sensing chaos, barked furiously, darting between legs. Jake retrieved the radio, his eyes never leaving Karen. "You're under arrest for theft and disorderly conduct," he said, pulling out his cuffs. But Karen, fueled by righteous indignation, wasn't going quietly. She lunged again, this time for his arm, her nails digging into his sleeve. The crowd's phones captured every second, the scene already going viral. Karen's defiance wasn't just about a dog or a radio, it was a manifesto. She'd spent years railing against rules she deemed unfair, from HOA fines to store return policies. To her, Jake wasn't just a cop, he was the system incarnate, and she was its rebel. As she struggled, shouting about her rights, Jake wrestled her arms behind her back, the cuffs clicking shut. The crowd's noise swelled, a cacophony of cheers and boos. A teen yelled, "Karen's going down," while an elderly woman muttered about kids these days. Karen, now cuffed, twisted to face the crowd. "You're all sheep," she spat, her voice hoarse but unbroken. The police backup arrived, sirens cutting through the park's chaos. 2 officers, A rookie named Sarah and a grizzled veteran named Mike stepped out, assessing the scene. Sarah, wide-eyed, whispered to Mike, "Is this the Karen from the viral video last month?" Mike nodded grimly. Karen's reputation preceded her. She'd once chained herself to a Starbucks counter over a discontinued latte flavor. Now, as Jake handed her off to Sarah, Karen's eyes burned with defiance. "This isn't over," she hissed, her voice low but venomous. Jake, wiping sweat from his brow, knew she meant it. At the station, Karen transformed from a park menace to a calculated strategist. Seated in the holding room, her yoga pants grass-stained and her hair a mess, she demanded a lawyer, a phone call, and the chief of police, now Sarah, tasked with processing her, tried to stay professional, but Karen's barrage of complaints about the cuffs, the room's temperature, the injustice of it all tested her patience. Mike, watching through the one-way glass, chuckled. "She's a fighter," he said to Jake, "but she's digging her own grave." Karen's counterattack wasn't physical, it was legal and public. Her lawyer, a slick attorney named Greg who specialized in civil liberties cases, arrived within the hour. Greg, smelling a media frenzy, coached Karen to play the victim. "You're a martyr for freedom," he whispered, handing her a tissue she didn't need. Karen, eyes gleaming, leaned into the role. By evening, her story was everywhere local news. Posts, even a hashtag, HOA Karen vs see the cops. Clips of the Judo slam racked up millions of views, with comments ranging from "she deserved it" to "police brutality Karen," released on bail, gave an impromptu press conference outside the station, her voice trembling with rehearsed emotion. "I was attacked for standing up," she said, clutching muffin for sympathy. The crowd, a mix of supporters and hecklers, ate it up. Jake, meanwhile, faced his own storm. The viral video painted him as both hero and villain. His captain, a no-nonsense woman named Torres, called him in. "You did your job, but this is a PR nightmare," she said, rubbing her temples. "She's claiming excessive force." Jake, frustrated but resolute, defended his actions. "She stole my radio and came at me," he said. "What was I supposed to do? Let her run the precinct." Torres sighed. "Just lay low. This'll blow over unless she escalates." And escalate Karen did. Greg filed a lawsuit against the department, alleging assault and violation of Karen's rights. Posts from Karen's account, likely managed by Greg, flooded the platform with carefully curated outrage. "I'm a mother, a taxpayer, a citizen. This is what happens when you question authority." Her followers, a mix of anti-establishment types and bored internet trolls, amplified her narrative. Jake, scrolling through the posts at home, felt the weight of public scrutiny. His wife, Emily, squeezed his hand. "You did the right thing," she said. "She's just loud." But Jake wasn't so sure. Karen's counterattack was gaining traction, and the line between justice and spectacle was blurring. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, a circus of reporters, ex-influencers, and curious locals packed into the pews. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table, her face a mask of righteous indignation. Muffin's leash looped around her wrist as a prop for sympathy. Her lawyer, Greg, adjusted his tie, ready to spin the narrative of a wronged citizen crushed by an overzealous cop. Across the aisle, Jake Ramsey, in a crisp suit, sat beside his department's attorney, his calm demeanor belying the storm of nerves within. The viral video of Karen's judo slam had turned Willow Park's chaos into a national spectacle. And today, the truth would either stand tall or crumble under the weight of public opinion. Judge Carl Nguyen, a no-nonsense veteran with a reputation for cutting through theatrics, presided over the case. Karen's lawsuit claimed excessive force and emotional distress, demanding Jake's badge and a hefty settlement. Greg opened with flair, painting Karen as a victim of police brutality for daring to speak truth to power. He played the video on a courtroom screen, pausing at the moment Karen hit the grass. her sunglasses flying. "This," he declared, "is what happens when authority fears accountability." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others rolling their eyes. Karen dabbed at dry tears, her performance Oscar-worthy. Jake's attorney, Maria Lopez, countered with precision. She presented the full context: Karen's unleashed dog, her theft of the radio, her refusal to comply, witnesses from the park parents, joggers, even the clown from the birthday party testified to Karen's aggression. The clown, still bitter about his bitten ankle, said, "She acted like she owned the park." Maria played the radio's audio. Karen's voice shrieking about corruption over the police channel, disrupting dispatch. The evidence piled up, but Karen's supporters in the gallery shouted, "Free Karen Judge." Nguyen banged her gavel, silencing them. Jake, watching Karen's smug expression, felt a flicker of doubt. Her narrative was powerful, fueled by X's echo chambers. Could the truth compete with her spectacle? Karen took the stand, her voice quivering with rehearsed emotion. "I was defending my rights," she said, clutching Muffin's leash. "Officer Ramsey attacked me for standing up." Greg led her through a tearful recounting of the trauma, but Maria's cross-examination was brutal. "You stole a police radio and disrupted emergency communications," Maria said, her tone icy. "Was that your idea of standing up?" Karen stammered, her defiance faltering. I was making a point," she said, but the crowd sensed weakness. Maria pressed harder. "And when you lunged at Officer Ramsey a second time, was that also a point?" Karen's face reddened, her answers growing erratic. The courtroom's mood shifted, her martyr act was cracking. Jake's testimony was the turning point. He spoke plainly, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of scrutiny. "I didn't want to use force," he said, "but she took my radio, disrupted dispatch, and came at me. I acted to protect the public and myself." He described his judo training, emphasizing the controlled nature of the takedown. A juror nodded. Another scribbled notes. Maria introduced Jake's record: 10 years without a single excessive force complaint. The contrast was stark. Jake's quiet integrity versus Karen's loud entitlement. Even her supporters grew quieter, their phones lowered. The climax came when Greg, desperate to regain ground, called a surprise witness, a teen from the park who'd posted the viral video. The kid, nervous under oath, admitted he'd edited the clip to make Jake look harsher, cutting out Karen's second lunge. "I thought it'd get more likes," he mumbled. The courtroom gasped, and Karen's face drained of color. Greg, flustered, tried to redirect, but the damage was done. Judge Nguyen's eyes narrowed. She'd seen enough. The truth, buried under hashtags and outrage, was clawing its way out. In her closing, Maria drove the point home. This isn't about rights. It's about responsibility. Karen Matthews chose chaos over civility, and Officer Ramsey chose duty over escalation. Greg's rebuttal leaned on emotional pleas, but the jury wasn't swayed. After a tense hour of deliberation, they returned not guilty on all counts of excessive force. The lawsuit was dismissed, and Karen was ordered to pay court costs. The gallery erupted, some cheering for Jake, others jeering Karen. She sat frozen, Muffin whimpering at her feet, as Greg whispered about an appeal. But the fight had gone out of her. The crowd's attention, her lifeblood, was slipping away. Jake walked out of the courthouse into the evening light, Emily at his side. Reporters swarmed, but he waved them off. "Justice was served," he said simply, his voice tired but relieved. Back at the station, Captain Torres clapped his shoulder. "You weathered the storm, Ramsey," but the victory felt hollow. X was already spinning new narratives, some calling Karen a fallen hero, others mocking her defeat. Jake knew the cycle would continue. Another Karen, another spectacle. He just hoped he'd never be in the middle again. Karen, meanwhile, retreated to her suburban home, the weight of her loss sinking in. Her X account, once a megaphone, was now a graveyard of deleted posts and blocked trolls. She sat on her couch, Muffin curled beside her, staring at the park's wooden sign she'd kept as a memento. The handwritten note, Karen's reckoning, felt like a taunt. She'd wanted to be a voice, a force, but all she'd done was amplify her own downfall. The irony stung in her quest to expose tyranny. She'd exposed only herself. Her neighbors, once allies, now whispered behind her back. The world moved on, but Karen was stuck, replaying the moment she grabbed that radio, the moment her pride became her cage. The story didn't end with triumph or tragedy. It ended with a quiet, bitter truth. Karen's defiance, Jake's duty, and the crowd's voyeurism were all part of the same messy human tapestry. Some on X praised Jake's restraint. Others decried the system that let Karen walk free. But beneath the noise, a lesson lingered. Actions have consequences, and no hashtag can rewrite reality. Jake went back to his beat, Karen to her silence, and the park to its picnics. Life resumed, but the echoes of that day, Karen's scream, Jake's judo slam would linger in Willow Park, a reminder of the fine line between standing up and falling apart. Want to explore the raw clash of ego and duty?